Test pilot Tuck Pendleton wants to make history. Supermarket clerk Jack Putter needs a vacation.
Jack, you're late. That's not good. You know it's coupon day.
Lieutenant Pendleton is about to be miniaturized, placed into this needle, and then injected into this rabbit.
Rock and roll.
But something went wrong. And Tuck's about to get a new destination. Inside Jack Putter.
I'm in a man.
Hello, can you hear me?
I'm possessed!
Now, Jack's got twice the problems.
How you doing, Jack?
But he's double the man. With Tuck on his side.
Kicking more accounts!
In his gut. And on his case.
You're not gonna bag groceries all your life, are you, Jack?
And only 24 hours left for Jack to get out of danger. So that Tuck can get out of Jack. Dennis Quaid, Martin Short. Give yourself a shot of adventure. Innerspace.
Let me tell you about a place somewhere up in New York way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to A Theater Near You. My name is Kris Randazzo, and joined this evening, as always, by cocky fighter pilot Paul Giroux. Pew, pew, pew! And face-changing nerd Sean Doyle.
I'm not a cowboy because I don't know how.
This month's letter was I, and we landed on Paul's pick, Innerspace. Did this Quaid short classic leave an impression? Let's find out. But first, gentlemen, how the heck are you?
I've been better and I've been worse.
Yeah, that kind of sums up things over here. What's new and exciting in the world of Paul?
You know, it's been a crazy week because we're putting up a show. I start tech tomorrow, so like this was a good window to record this. And then Sherry's been sick a lot of the week. Not COVID, fortunately, but had a fever. So it's like,
Rats.
yeah, like the days are long and terrible, and then it's like I get home, and then it's like, oh, now I gotta do stuff around here. Yeah, I don't know. I gotta get through the next week, and then it'll be smooth sailing for a while. I guess in terms of like weird things, have either of you ever had people text you and be like, "We want to buy your house for cash"? Do you ever get those texts?
No, definitely not.
It's just you, buddy.
I've been getting them a lot over the last week, and I'm like, this is weird, right? Like the one today said, here, wait, let me find it. It said, "Hi there, Paul." No, it said, "Hi there. Is this Paul? I am Hake." I don't know, Haque. Just drove by. Not going to say my address on the podcast. I'll just call it 123 Fake Street. I think that was from The Simpsons. Just drove by 123 Fake Street. Would like a cash offer. Please let me know. And I didn't write back, but I kind of want to be like, that's creepy. Stop driving by my house. I don't know you.
Send back a number. Maybe he really wants it.
A guy yesterday called me, and he was like, "Hey, this is Chester," and I was like, "Okay," and he's like, "I'm interested in your house
Chester.
at 123 Fake Street. Are you selling?" And then I was like, "Chester, that's where I keep all my stuff. Where am I going to keep my stuff if I sell it?" And then I was like, "Can I keep my stuff at your house?" And he was like, "I'm going to let you go."
Yeah, I don't have another house. Do you think I have like a couple of these laying around and like this is my spare that I'll sell?
Just go big, man. Like, I don't know what you paid for your house or what it's worth. But just double whatever you think it's worth. And if they're going to give you $800,000 cash, again, I don't know what your house is worth. You're in Philly. The prices are completely unchained to anything that exists over here in New Jersey. But if you have a $400,000 house, tell them $800,000. If they want to give it to you, great, take it, buy a different house.
I'm also fairly sure that this is not a transaction you want to make over text message with a stranger.
That's the only way I want to make it.
That's how I buy all my houses.
I want him to show up with a bag full of cash with a little money symbol on it. It's the only way I'm accepting payment.
And payment in burlap sack.
And then I would be like, thank you, I'll be out tomorrow, but I'm keeping a key in case I ever need to crash.
Well, that's certainly more interesting than anything that happened to me. I just laid in a puddle of pee for half an hour.
Sounds like a Thursday to me.
I'm sitting there reading stories to my daughter, and the whole time I'm smelling pee. Like, what stinks? I swear she peed somewhere, but then I just didn't want to I wanted to read the story so I could get down here and start the show. And then, I sat up after I finished reading the story, so I looked down and there's just this dried up piss pile. this just ring of yellow on the sheets, and I'm like, oh, son of a... All right, let's change this right now.
The joys of parenting.
I couldn't tell from your story if you were telling me that she wet the bed or if she was like, this potted plant has a different purpose for me today. Like, I literally didn't know where you were going with this.
Yeah, no, my daughter just wet the bed and I laid in it for a while like a sucker. At least it was dry. I think that was probably the most interesting thing that happened over here this week. I started selling some of my the stuff in my game collection that I'm looking to get rid of, so that was kind of fun. I sold a couple of duplicate things online this week to some nice folks out in the middle of who the heck knows where. So some of my extra stuff's going to go to a good home. That makes me happy.
That's cool.
It's only duplicate stuff, right? I view your basement as a museum, and it would make me sad if you were getting rid of things that weren't duplicates.
Most of it's duplicates. There are a couple of things that are just like, I can't bring myself to care about this, which is how little importance it has on the overall world.
Right.
There's very few things in there that aren't duplicates that I'm getting rid of. Some of it's just like, well, I literally have no more room for Sega Genesis games. I have expanded the boxed Genesis situation as far as I am willing to, and these games I just don't care about. So they're the ones that aren't going to make. There's like 5 of those, but outside of that, it's pretty much all duplicates and whatnot. So that's nice. Made a couple $100 off of 2 Sega CD games and an empty box for a Saturn game. So I'm off to a good start.
I think Stephen Wright said it the best when he said, "You can't have everything. Where would you put it?"
Exactly. And I've tried.
The answer is my little sister's attic. Fun note.
I can start storing stuff in her attic because I'm running out of room in mine.
Yeah, well, that's where my shit is.
I had so much stuff in my parents' attic for so long. Like, and when I finally consolidated it all into my own house, then it was all like, it was in the garage, and then it was down in the basement, and then some of it was in this attic, and I had a storage unit for a number of years, and now it's like, all right, this is the space I have. Now I got to figure out how to make this work as best as I can for me, and keeping the stuff that I care about, and start to get rid of, like, today I finally threw out one of my old Guitar Hero guitars because it was the broken one. And it wasn't like just kind of broken, like the button stick. No, it's broken. But I held on to it because somebody gave it to me, and I was like, well, maybe you can fix it someday. And I thought, well, yeah, maybe I can fix it someday. But I don't need a third guitar for the PlayStation 2 Guitar Hero, because that's only 2-player, and I have 2 functioning guitars. I don't need to keep this broken one anymore.
Or do you, Chris? Or do you? I'd probably drop that off there. I find broken video game stuff. I just drop it at your house.
And a lot of that stuff I appreciate. Most of the stuff that comes my way, I absolutely appreciate. I love collecting orphans and stuff. And then it's just a matter of figuring out what's the best thing to do with them. Like my other friend, Ferg, he's getting rid of some of his old collection stuff, and he's sending me a handful of old VHS tapes of like promos and stuff, which I'm so excited about. Oh, there's a Yoshi's Island promo VHS I've been looking for ages. He's sending it my way. I'm so excited about it. Who knows what else? It's an old tips and tricks video cassette. Like, hey, here's how to win at old Nintendo games. Yes, I have a VCR over there hooked up to my old CRT. I will pop those suckers in and watch them all night long. I'm so excited about it.
I have a CRT with a VCR that came from Sean's basement. I find that it's like you never, I don't know, you never feel like you need these things that are like collector's things until the one time you need it for a thing, and then you're like, why did I get rid of all those?
Right? That's why I never get rid of anything. That's why I have so much crap.
We're going to have a new podcast about hoarding.
Oh,
We're all
that'll be
guilty.
fun. I was watching like a little bit of my old Star Wars VHS like several months ago. I was just like popped it in there just to watch the original unedited version, not like the despecialized edition or whatever. Just like on VHS to get that old nostalgic feeling. I watched like a half an hour of it. It was great.
That's so funny because that's the 3 VHSs that I'm holding on to is that trilogy, and it's like it's not like I'm out there in the garage watching them, but it's like I won't get rid of it. You know, like
You want to have the option to.
yeah, it's weird.
So speaking of Star Wars and movies, I did the nerdiest shit ever last week. So I was on vacation, sort of like secret vacation last week. I had the week off of work, and I obviously didn't go anywhere because I still had to take the kids to school in the morning, pick them up in the afternoon. But I spent all day playing video games, which was wonderful. But then I beat the one game that I set out to beat, which was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And so with the next day, what I decided to do was something that I've been putting off for ages, but I finally have the ability to do it since I've gotten into a little bit more video editing, is I made my own cut of Star Wars.
What the hell are you talking about?
All right, so we all know the Star Wars special editions, right? The ones where we added all the ridiculous CG things in them and stuff.
Yes.
So like,
The next line better be that you added Bender in whenever there was a lull.
oh, I wish. No, I'm not that good. But there's also the Star Wars despecialized editions where people have gotten the original prints, like just movie reels, and they've restored them in 4K HD and all that stuff. That stuff's out there. So I had my friend Evan get me digital copies of the most current Star Wars Special Edition and the most current despecialized edition. And because I realized watching this movie with John a few years ago is that one thing about the special edition is it does tend to keep kids a little bit more interested because, the first Star Wars movie is a little dull from time to time. It's kind of talky. But if you every now and then throw a CG dewback walking around in the background, like, okay, keeps it a little bit more visually interesting. There are things in the special editions that I rather like. I will always love the original uncut editions, and they should be regularly available, but as a nerd, I like a lot of the stuff that they added for the special editions. But I also hate a lot of the stuff in the special editions. So what I did was I kept the stuff I liked, and then I spliced in the original scenes for the stuff that I didn't like. And it was a really smooth watching experience. It was my turn to pick movie night for the family, and we watched my cut of Star Wars, and the kids thought it was great.
Oh, can I watch your cut of Star Wars?
Absolutely. I need to fix it, though. I missed one thing. I missed Obi-Wan's new scream in the beginning. I don't know if you've heard the new Disney Plus scream.
Yeah,
it is
I know
hilarious.
What you're talking about. Yeah. This feels like a little bit of a rabbit hole, but like I guess as long as we're here, I agree. It's unfortunate that I agree, but it's like I agree. Like not all the changes are bad. Like I want to be like, it's so different, and but like the things where it's just like trying to keep it, current and watchable looking on an HD thing, feels like the right kind of update for it. When they make an explosion bigger or remaster the sound or something like that, right? Like that doesn't change the continuity or like the work of the designers and the people that worked on it. It just makes an explosion bigger and, you know, makes a thing more watchable. Like another one that I think is a good example, right, is like at the end when they do that like medal ceremony, you know, and poor Chewbacca doesn't get a medal. Like when they when the camera goes out down that row of people, right? Like in the original, it's like a matte painting, you know, where there's a lot of extra people there, right? And then when you watch it in HD, you're like, that's a painting. Like, that is clearly a painting. You know? So, like, sure, now you have the technology, make some CG people over there, right? Like, that seems like the right thing. But then the stuff where it's like, you've literally taken out the work of a costume designer or a performer or whatever, you know, and you've put in a different thing. Like, that feels like that's the stuff that I don't like.
Yeah, and like the things where you've legitimately changed what's happening. Like obviously the whole Han Solo shooting Greedo thing is absurd. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. So that scene I just left in. Or there's another scene like when they go to Mos Eisley for the first time and the camera pans out and it shows like they did this whole CG thing where you can see more of Mos Eisley and it's all alive and stuff. That's pretty neat. Except there's also this bit in there where there's this ridiculous cackling robot going, and then it gets punched in the head by another robot. I'm like, you don't need that. That's really stupid. So I cut that out. But I kept the other stuff, and it was fun to kind of figure out how to do that, how to make it line up like with the audio of like, okay, well, after I finished this one, I started working on Return of the Jedi, which is like that's the one that's got the worst shit in it. And trying to figure out the musical number in the beginning was really hard because there's that stuff they added right after the musical number where you get to see the Twilight Girl down in the Rancor pit. Mm-hmm. I think that's super cool because when they made the special editions, they got the actress who did that in the original movie to come back and shoot a new scene. I just thought that was really cool, so I wouldn't want to cut that out. But God, that Jedi Rocks musical number is one of the worst things I've ever seen in any movie ever. And like, so switching back to Lapti Nek is like, man, this is way better. It's still kind of awful though.
I'm just not enough of a Star Wars nerd. I remember that in like, I'm going to say 99, 2000, 2001, they re-released the 3 movies to the theater and they added a bunch of scenes. Is that what you're talking about?
That is what I'm talking about. Yeah.
All right.
They added some cool CG stuff. They reinserted the most famous one's the deleted scene with Jabba the Hutt.
Right. Yeah. With Han Solo talking to him. Yeah.
Well, yeah. You know, and that edition of it is actually the one I wish that you could. That's the one I wish was the mainstream thing because that's like that is the thing where they made the explosions bigger. They remastered. Like they mainly did updates so it looked good for a more current audience. And like, yeah, I guess there was a lot of stuff where George Lucas was like, throw in a dinosaur farting on a robot, but like most of it is make it look better. And then in each one they put an additional scene. Sometimes not needed, but whatever. But
I remember
then after that it was like then they started throwing Hayden Christensen in the old ones,
they did some other wacky shit that was like, oh boy, like some of it I was very thankful for, like when they went back and had Ian McDermott record that scene as the Emperor, because I remember that confusing the crap out of me as a kid. First time I remember seeing it, that was the first time you see the Emperor when he's talking to Vader in that one room, and then he shows up in the next movie and he doesn't look anything like that weird bulbous dude in a hood.
Yeah,
with the big creepy eyes and whatnot.
Yeah, like he looked like a weird baboon face dude.
Yeah. I remember turning to my parents and being like, who's that? They're like, that's the Emperor. I'm like, no, it's not. So that was cool that they did that.
I don't know what they've changed since then. I remember watching at least the first one in the theater when they released it. And I remember being like, and maybe I'm not enough of a Star Wars nerd. Like I watched all the movies. I know all the basic stuff. I enjoyed them a lot. I love them. But not like you guys love them, but they're great movies. I remember watching it in the theater and thinking, oh yeah, there's a little scene there. Yeah, they added a dinosaur. I don't know. None of it offended me. I was just like, yeah, all right. He cleaned it up, bigger explosions. Sounds good. I don't know. I
Yeah,
walked out happy.
there really wasn't a lot in, especially the first one, that I thought was like just flat out bad. Like there's this one scene in the Mos Eisley thing where, for reasons I still can't figure out, just a big dinosaur walks in front of the camera. They added a CG dinosaur, like you just see its torso walking inches away from the camera. It's not covering up any kind of mistake. There's like a little yellow droid that rolls by, and like, why is this here? This is horrible. The whole thing, they changed it so Han Solo has to like dodge his head real quick to the side because Greedo shoots first, because Han Solo's a good guy and he wouldn't shoot first. And like, that's just ridiculous.
Man, do you want the whole episode to be about Star Wars? Because I could go on about that for a while.
I mean, always.
About how he's a smuggler and a pirate? Maybe he's not the
he
best
starts
guy?
off as a bad guy. That's the point.
Yeah,
Whatever. It's called character development.
It conceptually changes the story of Star Wars. Like that's my beef.
So I
with
cut that right the hell out. The other one that always bothered me was like the deleted scene that they put back in with Jabba, and this like drove me nuts. Was like, and the one thing I can't really fix, because they reused actual audio from that deleted scene in the previous scene where he's talking to Greedo. When he says, you know, even I get bored sometimes. Do you think I had a choice? That's literally clipped audio from that deleted scene slapped into the bar scene with Greedo. So that's always going to bug me, but I thought the whole conversation with Jabba was kind of amusing enough to begin with, and I wanted to see if I could keep it. But there was one thing that always bugged me, is when Han turns around and says, Jabba, you're a wonderful human being. Which, like, it worked in the original one, because the deleted scene, because he was played by a human, but it makes no sense. So, but I was able to successfully edit that line out by duplicating a shot of Chewbacca walking in a previous scene, and nobody in the house noticed it, not even Karen. So I was like, all right, I did it. I pulled it off. It looks different enough. I did it. Yeah, I will find a way to send you my my cut of Star Wars and see what you think. But I need to do it again, because I need to put the original Obi-Wan creepy yell in it.
And here's my request. So it sounds like you're on a path now. Sounds like now you've done the first one, you're going to do the second one and the third one, and you know, when you have time, you're going to finish that stuff. After you get through that, I would, and I'm sure somebody's done this as the thing, so I'm probably not telling you something new, but I would like you to make a movie that is the prequel trilogy, but just all one movie. Like take those 3 shitty movies and turn them into one good movie.
That does exist, as a matter of fact.
I was going to say, there's got to be more. I'm not as hard on those first, on the prequel, I don't think, as other people, maybe. I don't know. There's parts I hate. But there was definitely lots of good stuff in there. Like, there was lots of great stuff in those first, first 3, the prequels. There was plenty of great scenes. There was a lot of crappy acting. There was terrible stuff going on that ruined the movies. But there was so many good bits that if you did pull out just the good bits, if the story still made any sense, you'd have a hell of a movie.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying to remember what the heck it's called, but was it the machete cut, I think?
No, the machete cut is when you watch. You skip episode 1.
Right, that's machete order. Yeah, no, I'm thinking of something else. Somebody has done a prequel edit that's right here. All 3 movies down to 1. So it's 2 hours and 29 minutes. So somebody has done it. I would be interested to see it. I've never watched it.
Sounds like just the right length.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I still have like major problems with the prequel trilogy, just on an intrinsic level. Like, I think that telling who Darth Vader is in the prequel trilogy, just, it takes away from that moment in Empire. If you were going to tell this story of that they did in the prequels, they should have kept the Anakin's actual fall to Vader a somewhat mystery, and then explained that actual, if you really wanted to go into the moment where he turns into Darth Vader, make that a separate thing that you watch later, like Rogue One. Mm-hmm. Because if you start from 1 and you go straight through, by the time you get to 5, that whole him revealing that he's Anakin Skywalker, it loses most of its meaning. So Anyway, I could talk Star Wars forever. As Paul and I know very well that we've talked Star Wars for hours. But we're here to talk about something else. Anything? Sean, how are you?
Yeah,
We
how's
haven't heard
Sean
from you.
doing?
How's Sean doing?
Sean's doing all right. It was a lot of work this week. I got a chance to play some Scythe over the weekend. I haven't played that game in like a year because fuck pandemic. And I don't mean fuck pandemic the board game. Love pandemic the board game. I mean fuck the real world pandemic.
Yes,
Uh,
indeed.
and Scythe was kind of I mean it's if you haven't played it, imagine Risk and Catan had a complicated baby with Russian robots. Uh, and it kind of I love it and I missed it and it was great. And with all the crap that's happening with this like impending Russian war coming, I was like, this just fits nicely with what's going on in my brain hole. So that was nice. That was the highlight of my week, probably.
I think I tried to play that Settlers of Catan game once, and I felt like it was wildly complicated. And by the time someone finished explaining the rules to me, I was like, "And the first one to flip the table over wins." It's just my go-to when it's a complicated game.
Yeah, well, if you got that, mix that with Risk and then complicate it. That's Scythe. Yeah, that's all I got. Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, I guess we should start talking about this movie, huh?
Yeah,
Seems fitting. That's why we're here.
you know.
It is. It is. All right, let's do it then. Let's talk about Innerspace. All right, let's see. Innerspace was released on July 1st, 1987, and was distributed by Amblin Entertainment.
That was the
It was
day I was born.
I don't think that's true.
Not,
Day and
not,
year.
not 1987.
Yeah, absolutely. 87. Keep going, Chris. Sorry.
You actually had me doing math for a second, questioning, like, wait a second. That can't be true. Anyway, it was distributed by Amblin Entertainment. It was directed by Joe Dante, whose previous credits include whose other credits, not previous, include oh shit, where'd it go? I wrote the wrong thing. There it is. There they are. Gremlins 1 and 2, Looney Tunes Back in Action, and Amazon Women on the Moon.
Ooh.
The movie stars Dennis Quaid, Martin Short, Meg Ryan, and Kevin McCarthy, among others. It tells the story of an arrogant hotshot pilot who volunteered for a miniaturization project that somehow results in him accidentally getting injected into an average man on the street following some sort of violent corporate sabotage and other assorted hijinks. I forgot to ask for this one from my Nefarious Means friend, so I wound up just renting this from iTunes for $3, and I enjoyed a glass of chocolate milk and an Oreo cookie while I watched it.
It must be cookies. Must be the theme of this because I too rented it on iTunes. I too had cookies and milk, but I had Girl Scout cookies.
Oh, nice. What kind?
So we have a friend that was selling them, and we got the peanut butter patties for me. We got the Samoans, which I'm pretty sure that's not what they're called. I think now they're called I don't know, caramel something or other, caramel delights maybe. We got some of those for Sherry, and then we got like the new kind, which like the new kind was good. But yeah, we got like a box of a couple boxes. So I've been eating those like they're going out of style.
So I've been eating Girl Scout cookies like they're going out of style too. I just got my shipment in. And the new ones, there was 2 new ones. One of them was amazing and the other one was all right. Fun note, just so you understand a little bit better about how this works. There's 2 different bakeries that make Girl Scout cookies. And while some of the recipes are identical, some of them are not. And depending on what bakery is supplying your supplier, that determines whether you get Samoans or Caramel Delights, which those 2 cookies taste the same, in my opinion. I can't taste the difference there. But then it also makes a difference. One makes peanut butter patties, the other one makes tagalongs, and there is a slight difference in them. And the Thin Mints, though they have the same name, are very different from in my opinion, because they're my favorite one. I can clearly taste the difference, blindfolded Pepsi challenge, no problem, between the more northern bakery and the more southern bakery. And however New Jersey's positioned, depending on who in New Jersey is giving you your cookies, we can get both. A little bit north, a little bit south, you get different cookies. And
Interesting.
there was one other big difference, but I don't remember what it was now. There's one other cookie that's totally different.
The
But
lemonades are pretty good. I forgot about those.
I was going to say it might be the lemon ones because I don't order them a lot.
I only got a box of peanut butter patties. The new ones, Adventurefuls?
Yes, Adventurefuls. That was the new one.
Indulgent brownie-inspired cookies with caramel-flavored creme and a hint of sea salt. My goodness.
Oh,
I love-
yes. Yep, we got those. Yeah.
Hmm.
They're all right.
They're no Thin Mint, but
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed them.
Sean, why do you know all this about the Girl Scout cookies?
I don't like, oh, here's a Girl Scout, let me buy a box of cookies. Like, I have them delivered, cases of them, like, because I know they're only available for a limited time. So, like, I have a few different cousins who have kids who are Girl Scouts, and it's like, what's their goal? They need to sell 30 more boxes. All right, I got that covered. I'll make another call to one of the other ones, finish off their goal too. Like, it's not. Let me get a box. No. Especially the Thin Mints. The Thin Mints, there's no way there's not crack in the Thin Mints. Like, just crack. Because I will open that. I'm not a huge guy. I don't eat a ton of food. I'll go a whole day. I'll forget to eat an entire day, 24 hours. Just won't think to eat. I crack one of those Thin Mint wrap. They come in the 2 long sleeves. I open up the first one. I just open it a little bit. Take out a cookie. I'm sitting in front of the TV and I eat it and I put my hand in an empty box. I'm like, what the hell just happened? Both sleeves gone. Don't even know what I did. I will unconsciously eat the whole thing. That is a cookie that cannot be beat. And while I did eat some of them during my Innerspace watching, I tried to find a themed snack to go along with it, and I couldn't find anything that had space or inner or nothing. Nothing worked. So I ate some mini baby carrots because I was like, well, they're miniature, and the movie starts out with a rabbit. So I sat here and ate some healthy carrots, and then we had an open box. At that point, we were in the middle of a box of tagalongs, so I went with the tagalongs.
Eat your carrots to balance it out.
Yeah. You got to get the vegetables in there.
Yeah. It does sort of feel like you went on a crusade, though. Like, it feels like you had a couple boxes, and then you ate one cookie, and then you ate one from another box, and you went, wait a minute, this is different from this. I gotta do some research.
The Northern Thin Mints aren't quite as full of crack. Like, they're still very good, and I will eat a whole box, but I know I'm eating a whole box. Whereas the Southern Thin Mints, it's a
just
serious
goes
issue.
right by.
Yeah, it is a problem.
Wow. Well, that is information I did not previously have. So thank you.
Samesies.
Your daughter's not in Girl Scouts, is she, Kris? Get you on this list.
Nah, she's not there yet. She's she's only 5.
All right, good. I'm always looking for future talent. My cousin's kid's going to age out soon.
Grooming my daughter. I mean, we tried Scouts with John, and I think it was just the troop that we were in was just so incredibly disorganized. It was kind of a mess. So we kind of opted the heck out of that. But I have no doubt that Ellie will want to do the whole being a Girl Scout selling cookies situation. That sounds right up her alley. So I'll let you know when the day comes.
I should be the first call.
So,
alrighty,
Kris, you're the only one of us that hadn't seen this movie before, right?
That is correct. Although I don't think Karen had seen it either. She watched it with me as well. Yeah, no, I had not seen it. Right? You guys both saw. Obviously, you've seen it, Paul. But...
I watched with Jacqueline, and Jacqueline hadn't seen it. I've seen it dozens. When I was a kid, I watched this at least 20 or 30 times, if not more.
Well,
wow.
I feel like I have some stuff to say correlating to when I was a kid. But I'm kind of interested in the perspective of somebody who hadn't seen it, who was watching it for the first time.
Okay. I wasn't nuts about it. I was a little bit more on board at first, but kind of by the end of it, I really it wasn't really doing it for me. I didn't think it was particularly funny. Dennis Quaid's character was not likable at all. I don't know. This one just didn't really fit for me. Like, it just didn't seem like a very interesting movie. Like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't hate it, but I certainly didn't love it. I'm trying to bring my notes up here. Dennis Quaid was ripped. That I didn't see coming. I've never seen him like quite so jacked before, but like he was a tasty looking dude in his youth. That was no getting around that. Everyone is smoking everywhere.
Well, that's the 80s. That's
that is indeed the 80s.
On the plane they were smoking.
It was like every possible opportunity to shove a cigarette in someone's mouth. They were like, let's fucking smoke, light them up. It was everywhere. I miss malls. Just seeing a lively 80s mall was really pulled at the old heartstrings there. I miss malls so very much.
What kind of horror show of like toy store mascots was roaming that mall?
Oh yeah.
I miss that shit too. You would never see that. Like that, I go to the Hamilton Mall for my comic books like once every other month, and like holy cow, it's just so sad and desolate because most physical retail is, but like just looking back on a time where you had to go somewhere and be surrounded by a ton of people to go shop for physical things, it just really warmed my heart. It made me so happy to see. I loved malls.
Well, I wrote down the thing too about the animal mascots in the mall. And I guess I'll sort of use this to segue into my connection with this movie from childhood. I'm pretty sure I watched this movie before I was really old enough that I should have been watching it. I can't tell you when I watched it and how many times I watched it. I'm sure I have seen it at least once as an adult since this last viewing. But I think as a kid that, like, I bet you my mom rented it. I say my mom because my dad doesn't watch movies. I think my mom probably rented it and was like, "Oh, this looks like it'll be appropriate." Like they shrink Dennis Quaid and put him in Martin Short. Like that seems like a funny thing for the whole family. But I think there was just like so much sort of like hellish nightmare-scape imagery in this. Those animals in the mall, the dude with the finger gun, the woman in his dream that like lights up the cigarette with the little gun. Like there was a lot of, and I think also just like all the stuff that happens inside his body, right? Like
I was gonna say, you're leaving out the dissolved Russian cosmonaut.
Yeah, like ripping through his veins and going through his bloodstream. It's kind of like
every time he wanted to escape somewhere, he zapped a hole in the wall. I'm thinking, isn't that going to cause some real damage?
Yeah, it was kind of like Magic School Bus from hell. Like it was like Magic School Bus, but all the like realistic awfulness that would go through really being in somebody's body. So I think. I think sometimes when I think about that, I have just like a lot of disconnected, disturbing images from this movie, and then I think it took another viewing to sort of like put that aside and then to be able to like appreciate the like, funny, the funny, well-made stuff about this movie, the performances and things like that.
Yeah, I will. I didn't necessarily hate the acting per se. I hate's a strong word. I don't think I really hated much of anything about the movie. Just like I didn't like the relationship between Randy. Did I keep saying Randy Quaid, Dennis Quaid, and Meg Ryan, and like especially at the end, movie. Where that would be a very different movie. Like, I mean, their relationship was gross. And then, like, she's pregnant, and what? She's pregnant, and then they get married and live happily ever after, even though this guy's like a complete shit.
Oh,
okay.
Well, okay, hang on. I didn't think he was a complete shit. I didn't think their relationship was gross, but I did make some notes about sort of about the relationship triangle between the three of them, and I think I was left with some questions after this watching. Like there's some stuff that kind of misses the mark, I think, when I dissect it.
Well,
Go on.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
we
Because I mean I'm right there with you. I didn't like any of the Martin Short relationship with her, and like she kind of reciprocated a bit, but then she's like, I'm gonna marry Dennis Quaid, even though he's kind of a shit to me, and but I'm carrying his baby, so we're gonna get married, and Martin Short's just gonna be there, and he's gonna be fine with it.
So I guess my impression was this. Like, I didn't really think Dennis Quaid was a shit. I mean, honestly, I thought he was kind of a smooth operator. Like, I mean, yes, he's completely drunk at the beginning of the movie, which also I gotta say, I really was into the way this movie just friggin' started. Like, like this movie wasn't like, hey, let's introduce the idea of this shrinking technology, or let's do this, or like it literally started with like a drunken brawl at a Air Force pilot like dinner or something,
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was an interesting window into all the characters and sort of sort of who these people are and how they operate. But then I thought it showed some sort of interesting things about Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan's relationship, and it's like just how, I guess, just how smooth he is, that like she, she sort of melts at the, like, all he's got to do is play that Sam Cooke song, and she just like she knows that she should make a change, but like she's literally that drawn to him. And like I thought their relationship had some interesting dynamics, and then I thought Martin Short was so good at being, this neurotic hypochondriac guy. But then when Dennis Quaid is in there, when he's in the pod, piloting inside Martin Short, right? Like, at first I made this note where I was like, is this some sort of look at a gay relationship that we're not, like, that's not being spelled out this way on screen? Like, is this like, I've heard the Venom movies being described as like the best disguised like gay relationship on screen, like that. I mean, even if you watch that second one, like Venom's like, fine, I quit, and he goes to the club, and he's like, I had to get away from Eddie, and all the people are like, yeah, you go, boy, like, you don't need him, like it was sort of some more overt stuff in this last Venom movie. So when the fact that it's literally two people sharing a body, two people sharing a life, right? That I was like, is this a thing that they're trying to say? Like, at one point, Dennis Quaid even's like, he's like, I'm in a man, and I was like, is this the gag? And then I was like, no, I don't think it is. And then they really, I think, did do justice to the idea of like Dennis Quaid helps Martin Short overcome these problems. I think he even says, like, there's that whole bit at the end where he's like, Tuck will give me the power of 10 men, and then he realizes that he did it on his own. So I was like, all right, that's well defined, right? But then this whole thing where Martin Short is checking out Meg Ryan, and then Dennis Quaid comments because he can see that he's checking out Meg Ryan because he's in there, and then where it's like she is kissing him, but she's clearly attracted to Tuck. Like, that's that's been made real clear. And then you're kind of like, well, why is this relationship being fostered between the two of them? I just feel like there was some connection that was missed that I didn't get. Like it, I think it wanted to make a real clear connection between the three of them, and I think it missed the mark.
I guess I see what you mean. By the end of the movie, it seemed like it wanted me to feel like there was a real connection between the three of them. But I didn't quite feel like it accomplished that. I just thought it was everything about her relationship with Tuck just struck me as super toxic. Like, yeah, she's really drawn to the guy, but like he knows that and uses it to his advantage to get what he wants. And he doesn't really take her into consideration. It's just he's just kind of being a shit. Like, okay, I am me, and this is my life, and I am Tuck. I know I'm a beefcake. I know you'd hit it, and I'm going to use that to my advantage, and anytime that I want. And she's clearly wanted to get away from him because of his drinking and all that other stuff. And then, he plays that song or whatever, and that's the end of it for her. And it just didn't strike me as a healthy relationship. I didn't want them to get together at the end. I almost wanted her to. I felt like I almost wanted to want her to get together with Martin Short, but I also didn't exactly buy them either.
Yeah.
So Meg Ryan loves Tuck so much that she loves even the bits of him that she sees coming through Martin Short, right?
Yeah.
It's like Bender said. You love him so much, you love anybody that's pretending to sort of be him. So there's that, maybe. I don't know. I'm going to work with the movie here a little bit. And then the other thing I was going to say in regard to that is, so I think that we were supposed to see, and I'm not saying it was super well done. I think we were supposed to see like a character development or come to Jesus moment in Quaid's character throughout his journey through Martin Short, because there's times where you see him stressed, fearing for his life, looking at her, realizing like what he's done, and then he even has the sense to at one point he makes the line about that day it wasn't my toe that was broken, it was my heart or whatever. At least it kind of felt like he gets it, right? So I think we were supposed to see that happen. And then as far as the Martin Short, I agree with what Paul said earlier. I think they did do a good job on making you feel Martin Short's growth through it, and it was clearly his growth was clearly a result of his interaction with these two people, and the adventure, as it were, because he has that moment at the end where he tells off the crazy chick, and he quits his job and does something else. I don't know. Tells the doctor
he tells the doctor he's cured. He tells the coworker he would never date her, and he tells the boss, who was the guy from the Burbs and the Illinois Nazi in Blues Brothers, that he quits.
You realize the girl that was his girlfriend was the wife of the neighbor who had the military stuff in the Burbs.
That Bruce Dern played?
He was mad that the guy's dog was pooping on his lawn, and he was very military. I don't know the guy's name.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. His wife is the girl that was, sort of with Martin Short, I guess. I don't know how we find that situation. So, real quick, my overall view. We kind of, you guys kind of already hit your overall views. Part of it's nostalgia. I watched this a lot when I was a kid. I really liked it when I was a kid. In retrospect, I can see the difference between this movie. So I don't think it's amazing upon rewatch. I don't think I've rewatched it since I was a kid. It's been at least 15, 20 years since I've seen this movie, if not more. But I still remembered a lot of it because I'd seen it so many times. I can see the difference in that many of the other movies we watched in high rotation because we had them on VHS, me and my sisters or other friends will still quote to this day, whereas this is not a movie that gets quoted or referenced on a regular basis. So it's not a Big Trouble Little China. It's not a Planes, Trains, Automobiles. It's not one of these other movies that was both good on whatever child level I enjoyed them on, but then remained good and brought me into rewatching all throughout my young adulthood and now adulthood or whatever. So it's definitely not one of those classic movies on the level of many of. I like too many movies, but it's not one of them. I didn't think it was terrible, and I did enjoy it as a child. And I was trying to think, why did I enjoy it as a child so much? And it was Martin Short. I think I enjoyed just about every Martin Short movie, and he does a very good Martin Short in this. There's lots of scenes with him dancing, holding the hand of the robot. It almost looked like Ed Grimley style, uh, Martin Short movements. There's him making the funny faces when he's switching. So like as far as like a showcase for Martin Short, um, you know, if that's all they were trying to do, they effectively did it. And then they wrapped a cohesive, a coherent movie around it. And you had the couple funny things with like the bad guys or whatever. Um, so I don't think it was terrible. Um, it was more enjoyable when I was a child. And I didn't realize it was Spielberg. Am I crazy? Did you say it was Spielberg?
I saw his name in the credits in the beginning, but when I was looking up everything today, it's listed as being directed by Joe Dante.
I think that Spielberg produced it.
Oh,
I remember seeing his name in the beginning, and Karen and I are looking at it like, this was after E.T.? Like, this is not on the level of Spielberg stuff that's good. And I'm not going to say, like, again, I didn't hate it, but I totally agree with what Sean's saying. This isn't really even like Gremlins or anything like that. This just doesn't seem like it's of that caliber, because so much of it seemed like it wanted us to be so much more impressed with stuff like, well, he's inside the body and this is kind of neat, but like I kind of stopped caring about that premise after not that long. And it just didn't land. It just didn't land for me.
I think I agree with most of what Sean said. I'm glad that you said it first, Sean. Like, yeah, because I guess a lot of times I do, and then you're like, damn it. Yeah, I mean, I liked it overall. I think mainly because of nostalgic factor, and and that Martin Short's like physical comedy is just effortless in this. Like, I think that's the memorable thing about it. But yeah, watching it again, like I wasn't really engaged the whole time. Like by the end of it, I was kind of like, all right, is this over yet? Like it's not a bad movie, but it's not as amazing as I remember it.
Do you know what else I think we forget sometimes? And I'm gonna put the year at 92. I think so. Like when I grew up, my dad would show me like old sci-fi movies or whatever. When I say old, I mean like black and white into like early color. And there wasn't a lot of great science fiction options. I mean, and I know we could name a bunch of great science fiction movies. Planet of the Apes was a great movie. It's my favorite science fiction movie. So that there were some options, but it wasn't like today where there's a gajillion movies that you can watch. And I feel like it was like 92 where special effects just stopped being a problem. And it turned into just like, I say 92 because I'm thinking Terminator 2, and then I think 93 was Jurassic Park. So I feel like it was right around there. You go before that, and like special effects science fiction movies were problematic or fewer and farther between, where there was like, I don't know, this probably not only gave me that Martin Short when I was very young that I enjoyed, but then like when I was like 9 or 10 watching it for the 30th time, it was also like a science fiction movie where like I got to see something, these people getting shrunk down and put in there, and I probably did enjoy that on an adventure science fiction level. And it did look, I mean, uh, I know the movie didn't feel like Spielberg quality, but I don't think the effects were bad. Like it looked like he was
Yeah, no, the
floating
effects
around.
were not bad.
Right, and so for 87, I was probably fascinated with that too. In retrospect, again, 87, 88, 89. I'm 7, 8, 9 years old, whatever it is at that time, and we haven't hit that special effects boom that I feel really took off in the early 90s, and then it was just like, at this point, second-rate Netflix movies have the ability to put whatever they can imagine on the screen. So that didn't exist then,
Yeah, I definitely agree that the visual effects were pretty solid, especially considering the movie's vintage. All the way around, that wasn't really a bothersome to me. It was just more, kind of how I felt watching the movie. I do agree that Martin Short was great. He's definitely fun to watch. I did think the face swapping thing was a bridge too far. That was like, at that point, I was like, I don't know what you're doing here. This seems like a different movie at this point. This is you had my suspension of disbelief with the whole shrinking the tiny thing in there and just not flying out of his ass at any particular point. I don't know why he didn't just fucking leave. Like, why did they need to get back there to get him out of there? There's like, oh, we got to get back because I'm going to run out of air and I'm going to die because I'm stuck inside your body. I need to find a way to get out of your body. It's like, okay, but then he kisses what's-her-face and he just goes from one to the next. Clearly he could leave whenever the hell he wanted to.
Well, I don't think it mattered where he really was, whose body he was in, or if he was just, if he flew out and was just flying around in the air. I think he was better off being in Martin Short because he could communicate and at least get where he was going. The thing that the thing that kept the plot driven forward was that they needed to get that other chip, which that is weird that you would take one chip to shrink a person and two to enlarge them. But the whole concept of that chip was the whole thing that the plot was based on.
Yeah, but like wasn't the whole thing like he needed to get out of Martin Short because he couldn't breathe in there?
Yeah.
Like he was running out of air. So if Martin Short just spit him into his hand and then he opens up the windows, he can breathe the oxygen that's outside of Martin Short's body. Like he'd be fine in a jar.
They addressed it, and they did address it. They heard your concern, Chris. And they threw some science words at it that didn't make any sense. Because at the one point he goes, "Well, that's the I don't remember what he was. He was like a consultant or something. He was the one that scooped him up off the floor when he got in the fight in the beginning. His friend, not a friend. That guy said, okay, well, it's no problem. Just have him, drive up to Martin Short's lungs and open the hatch and he'll get all the air he needs. We'll get him out of there whenever we get him out of there. No big deal. And the guy was like, no, if he opens the hatch, there'll be explosive decompression, which doesn't make any sense because... What the hell are you talking about? He's going to open the hatch anyway, right? You're just going to make it big and he's going to open the hatch? Like the oxygen molecules, you didn't shrink them, right? Like it didn't make a lot of sense, but they heard your concern.
I thought the decompression thing was related to him being inside of Martin Short. Like it was underwater or something. Like when you go into a submarine and then you go down into the ocean, you open up the door, there's going to be some crazy decompression because like air pressure is a big difference when you're totally submerged in something. So that's where I connected that. It's like, all right, so the problem is that he's effectively in liquid and he's super tiny, so the pressure would kill him. So just get him into the air, like outside of a body, because if he's in the lungs, there's going to be all this air pressure going around from the air going in and out of the lungs. Just get out of the body and put him in a mason jar. And then he can open up just crack the windows and breathe or something. I don't know.
They went with reasons.
They went with so the movie can happen.
Right. They went with reasons, and they dressed it up with sciencey words. I mean, it's not. They put 2 seconds worth of writing effort into bridging that gap. I think it probably really just started out as a showcase for Martin Short. They were like, "What else can we put him in? We'll stick him over here." He's funny.
That's what it seemed like to me, was this like vehicle. Certain things seemed like, all right, we're going to get Martin Short to do things, and that's fine. Dress up a movie and let this comedic actor do their shtick in as many situations as we can get them in. It was just when they started doing the face swapping scene where I just lost it. Like, you have lost me. I will suspend all of my disbelief.
Which was extra crazy when you think about the fact that it probably was a Martin Short vehicle, because then you had a different actor pretending to be Martin Short.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cowboy who was like the doctor on Star Trek Voyager. It's like, that's
He
where I know this
was
guy
the
from. and
doctor on
that's
Star
weird.
Trek. I didn't put that together till you said it, but you're right. That's who that
You-
was.
Do you want to know something? I met the cowboy.
Really?
Yeah, he was in a show that we did at the theater I worked at a long time ago when I was at the Prince. He was in a show. It was like about Philly. It was about I don't remember, but he was in it. His name's Robert Picardo.
Did you ask him to sign your Innerspace poster? Because that would
I
be
mean,
badass.
I didn't. It's not like we were chummy. I mean, I remember him, and then I remember being like, oh, he's been in stuff. Like it's cool.
He's the real deal.
He's the real deal. You know what's funny? I didn't think that the face swapping stuff was too much. You mentioned how it's a Martin Short vehicle, and it's like let's get him to do a shtick in as many scenes as possible. I thought, like, sometimes when that's the case, it's like they just start inserting weird things in a movie so that you can have a scene where he does this, you can have a scene where he does that. I felt like this movie was pretty natural. Like, I felt like the flow was really good, and that, like, there was some really funny bits. I liked the thing in the doctor's, when he's in the waiting room of the doctor's office and he's responding to Tuck's voice for the first time, like that sort of comedy routine with the two people on the couch, I thought was so funny. The bit with the friggin' robot arm, how that robot arm had to do that weird choreographed movement before it got the chip, and then, like, by the end of the movie, people are like, we don't have time for this. Like I thought there was some funny stuff with that, where, like, Martin Short was, like, acting alongside the robot arm. The one that felt really out of place and stupid to me was when they had the like high speed chase with the freezer truck, and he's like hanging out of the freezer truck, and cars are whizzing past. Like, that was the one that felt really stupid to me.
Yeah, that was also pretty gratuitous.
Because it doesn't even play to Martin Short's strengths. Like,
No, it was just like, all right, here's action sequence.
yeah,
What can we do for an action sequence?
yeah.
Let's have some dude hanging out of the back of a truck. That was weird.
The scene, yeah, no, it had him jumping up and yelling, "I'm possessed." That scene on the couch, that was a funny scene. I mean, it's Martin Short, and you gave him a little space, and he does his thing, and I love him. I think he's great. So yeah, it had funny scenes. I don't think it was a bad movie, but I do I can certainly see the caliber of difference between that and, like you said, a Gremlins or some other movie of that era that does permeate my brain on a regular basis. Flash.
We've talked a lot about Martin Short. We've talked less about the other two. I wanted to respond to something Kris said a while ago, where you just said that you felt like Dennis Quaid was a total shit the whole movie. I think that maybe the reason I didn't have that perspective on it was because the only window into their relationship was the first scene. He and Meg Ryan's relationship was the first scene, and then they split up, and then the whole adventure happened. Like, I guess a lot of the crux of the adventure, for his character, other than surviving, is winning her back, right? So, like, you're seeing all of their interactions after the fact. So I guess the fact that their time together, we only saw that one scene, and you're seeing him, like, on his worst day, that I guess I didn't have that perspective that he was so awful.
And you know what? He was a dick in that first scene, but he wasn't a dick to her, per se. I mean, she ended up having to take him home because he was being a drunk ass, but, I don't know.
I was under the impression that this was just the way he was. Like, the way that the other, military guys acted toward him. It's like, oh, he's just this cocky asshole. He's a really good looking dude and he knows it. And so he thinks he can get away with whatever the hell he wants. And so he acts like an ass all the time. And then the way she acted towards him made it seem like, at least the way I read it, was like, no, this is just who this guy is. He's 80s beefcake dude who can get away with anything because he's good looking. And she loves him because she's so attracted to him, but he doesn't, every reason that he wanted to get back to her always just came off to me as selfish. And then, like, all of a sudden, oh, she's pregnant. I'm ready to be a dad. Like, this guy was never dad material. He didn't want to settle down. He was like, yeah, baby, I'm just who I am. and you just got to deal with me and all of my shit because you want me. And that's just the way it read to me, because they didn't really give much else in there to kind of convince me of otherwise. And that's fine. It didn't need to be a focus of the movie. It just, he rubbed me the wrong way as a character. And I didn't really, by the time he was like trying to get back to her in the end, it felt so self-serving. It wasn't like, it just seemed like I need to get back to her because she'll tolerate me and she'll give me what I want. Not like,
So I agree with
because she
what you're
loves me
saying
or
about the
anything like
beginning. I think he was supposed to be an ass in general. Again, I didn't see him be mean to her in any specific way. But no, I think you're right. I think he was supposed to be an ass. And I think they just kind of rushed over or didn't do a good job teasing out the couple, like, character development moments he had in the pod, right? Like, you kind of saw him. They could have pieced him together a little bit better. They could have spoon fed him to us a little bit more, or linked them together a little more clearly. But I think they gave us a couple moments in the pod where you were supposed to see his character develop or change into a more I don't know, caring, or because in the beginning, even, I mean, not that he's ever nice to Martin Short, but he was more of an ass to him in the beginning, and then by the end, I don't know, there's some sort of degree of camaraderie, at least. And then again, with her, you can kind of see his reactions to her change, and I don't know. Again, I don't think you're wrong. I think he was an ass, but a cut one. So
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
line them up, ladies.
I'm not. I say all this, and I also have to preface all the things that I've said is that he can still get it. I mean, he comes. I'm not kicking him out of bed. I'm just saying he seems like an ass. I get where Meg Ryan's coming from, but it's not necessarily the healthiest.
And then we're focused on him. What about Meg Ryan? What was going on in her career right around now that this was the movie she made? It seems like a weird move. I'm going to say that this was probably right after Joe versus the Volcano. And you got to think, these two movies near each other, she was turning around to her manager and being like, you're fired. Like, what is happening? What am I even doing over here?
I'm pretty sure they just pointed her towards, Randy Quaid's abs and be like, not Randy, but Dennis Quaid's
Quaid.
abs and be like,
no, Randy Quaid's abs. And she went in the other direction, right through the arms of Dennis.
Here are your options right now. We got this Randy Quaid movie, or we got this Dennis Quaid movie.
Which
and,
Quaid do you want?
I'll take that one. I mean, I would imagine that she did this movie because it seemed like a pretty obvious paycheck. Like, this is a science fiction-y looking thing. There's not a lot like it right now. And Martin Short and Dennis Quaid's abs and, like, surefire paycheck.
And Spielberg's name is stamped on it, so yeah.
Exactly. That seems to me like not the kind of movie you'd want to turn down.
That's true. In the 80s, if somebody said Spielberg, I guess everybody was just like, yes, I will do that.
You guys could be right about Dennis Quaid. Maybe it should ring more alarm bells to me that he literally had a liquor bottle hidden in every nook and cranny of that apartment. I mean, maybe that should be more telling about his personality. Also, like,
it is what it is.
What was up with that apartment? Like, he had like robot arms and like rabbits and like a weird column of ivy and a giant fish. Like,
Yeah, the company let him take home a lot of seemingly sensitive equipment. I don't think you bring lab rabbits home. I think that probably messes up, whatever tests you're doing. And then the robot arm, I'll bet you that was expensive. Seemed weird to
Yeah,
have
they
in
did
his house.
seem to be a lot of working from home for this top secret project that he wasn't allowed to
right.
talk about.
And parts of the job that don't concern him. I understand he's the test pilot. He's not involved in the rabbit's care. Those things don't overlap, right? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, so not related to the movie, but sort of related to the movie. I just don't want to forget it. It's popped back up into my head like 3 times. You said the guy that directed this, whose name I've already forgotten, he also directed Amazon Women on the Moon.
Uh-huh.
I forgot all about that movie. If you've never seen that, that's one I haven't seen since I was much, much younger.
Several times.
I think that was a Steve Gutenberg vehicle, right? Like it was Gutenberg and like that was the one that just kept like jumping channels, right? Like it was.
Yes.
I don't remember.
It would show you, like,
I'm not sure if I've even seen that one.
It's essentially like sketch comedy.
Right. But like it's literally like you're watching TV and the channel keeps changing, I think.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, I did see this one. Yeah, I remember renting this one.
And I think maybe it's the cause of all ADD ever. Like that's where it started. Because I feel like that's how my brain works now. It's just like, yep, channel change. All right. But yeah, I don't know. That just when he said that, it jumped out at me. I was like, oh, I forgot all about that movie.
Wild. Well, I don't know. I'm just about out of things
Yeah.
to say about this one.
It's fine. I don't think anyone needs to run out and watch it. If you find yourself in a room with it, you won't cry.
I guess a couple other notes that I had was I don't know, like maybe this goes along with some of the nostalgia stuff that we were talking about, but we were sort of instantly transported back to all this 80s stuff, the mall and things like that, and I was struck by how the science stuff in this movie all looks like things that people would have in their garage, like I don't know. We've now started depicting science stuff different in like more modern movies, but where like you look at like Back to the Future and like this, it's all weird gauges and dials and like keyboards that come out from weird places and stuff. I don't know, like that aesthetic kind of drew me in. I thought that was fun.
Yeah. It's funny you said that the shrink ray the bad guys had actually operated on a garage door. Like it was a big garage door that closed over top of whoever they were shrinking. Like a sideways garage. Like they took a garage door and they laid it down sideways to make that set.
Hmm.
It was kind of funny too how they reduced the people to like half the size. Like I don't know. Like I guess maybe that was.
Oh God, I forgot all about that part. That was weird.
Yeah, like I guess that was a little bit of the disturbing imagery I'm remembering from these nightmarish scenes from my childhood. But
and that gave way to a great comedy scene because the two half-size people attacking Martin Short and what's her name in the car was a great scene. That was hysterical.
Yeah.
Or horrifying. I mean, it's your perspective, I guess, but that I felt like did play into Martin Short. The tiny little hands coming over, covering his eyes, him freaking out at the wheel. Like it was like, yeah, that's what you do for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought it was weird, but like I think I was also entertained by it.
Oh, I did think it was weird that their hired thug. 2 things I thought weird about him. One, I feel like he shot the guy in the mall and then went to the car and had to change hands, which indicated to me that he only has 1 bullet in each hand because he takes his hand off of the car and then puts a new hand on. And I'm like, so one and done? You get 1 bullet? This is how high tech we are? And then the other weird thing is their hired assassin thug guy is also their test pilot. Like, that seemed like a weird, what was that job description? Like, because Quaid wasn't assassinating people in Russia for us or, like being covert down in South America. No, he was a test pilot because that's, a whole job in and of itself that you have to learn a bunch of stuff for, right? But these bad guys, they were just like, you're good at killing people. Hop in this crazy device over here and fly it around inside this guy's body. I'm sure you're good at that too, right?
Well, the guy with the detachable arm or detachable hand, which I guess let's just call him the henchman, right? Because like he served all those henchman purposes. He was the driver. He went, he was the assassin. He then was the one who piloted the thing. So like I guess they're an evil organization and he's their henchman. I guess one of his jobs is also like servicing the boss, because I don't know if you saw that scene where he switched out his hand to a sex toy.
Yeah, it seemed real unnecessary. Like there was no laugh there. It was just some questions that didn't need to be answered or asked, but they made me ask them, and then I probably unfamily friendly the movie just a little bit more.
I that was one of those things where I was like, did I just see that?
All right, well that was fun. I'm still glad that I've seen it. This is an 80s Martin Short movie that I have never heard of before. This was an experience that I hadn't had before. So I don't have a lot of Dennis Quaid experience outside of like Dragonheart. So this was an interesting different role for him. At least from my perspective. So thanks for bringing this one to my attention. I think it was a wise choice.
I do what I can.
All right.
I do what I can.
Well, I guess it's time for us to do our voting, right?
God. All right.
Yes.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Gotta find my phone. It's the whole thing. All right.
All right. So let's say what our picks are. So Sean, why don't you go first?
So I narrowed it down to 2, and I feel like we've talked about both these movies. Here's my problem with picking movies for this thing.
Oh,
I feel like...
Wait, hang on.
Uh-huh.
Can I say something before you go, Sean?
Go ahead.
Are we voting on a movie, or are we saying that it has to be Jaws, or are we just telling Kris he needs to watch Jaws before next time and give us a report because he is an adult man and should have seen Jaws?
So, all right, well, that we're good. And I hate you, Paul, and I feel like I don't need to be on the podcast anymore. So,
I mean, I think we can still vote on movies and just say, just like last time we did our report on Geely, I think maybe like Kris needs to do a report on Jaws, and we could do a quick play-by-play. And then I think he also needs to tell us which one of the three of us is Roy Scheider, which one is Robert Shaw, and which one is Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh, God. I'm pretty sure I'm the hot chick who gets eaten. Pretty sure. I was about to say, my problem with picking movies for this thing to put forward is that I can never remember which ones everyone said they've seen and haven't seen. And I know I've been offended on several occasions, like, why the hell hasn't this person seen this movie? So I narrowed it down to 2 movies, one of which was Jaws, because in the back of my head I was like, I think one of them said they didn't see Jaws. And then I was like, that can't be right. And I didn't want to say Jaws if it's something we've all seen 100 times, because that's, I don't know, unnecessary. But if Kris hasn't seen Jaws, I'm going with Jaws. Because, for God's sakes, you're a grown-ass man.
Well, what was your other pick?
Jason X, but then I couldn't remember if we had said we saw it or not.
Oh, Jason X. Oh, man.
I kind of remember Kris saying he's never really watched any horror movies, which also makes me think, well, he should watch Jason X, because not only is it a horror movie, it's fucking
I've seen
awesome.
the sleeping bag scene.
Well, that scene's awesome, but the whole movie's awesome. I mean, he just wanted his machete back. Come on, it's a great line.
That's enticing too. I would love to do a crappy play-by-play on that movie. Ooh, I don't know.
Kris has to watch Jaws. It's not acceptable. Kris has to watch Jaws.
I think we must insist.
We can't have a movie podcast with someone who hasn't seen Jaws. It's stupid.
Yes, you're an adult man with a movie podcast. Watch Jaws.
Well, clearly Jaws was my pick because I have never seen Jaws, and I figured we have to. Do you want to? Jaws is my pick.
Oh, okay.
The only other J movie I could think of was Jumanji. I haven't seen that in forever, but
Paul. Paul. Let's really screw him over. You
What?
put forward Jaws 4, and I'll vote for you. And we'll just make him watch Jaws 4, having never seen Jaws 1, and then he can go through his life with that hanging over his head.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's no other ones. There's just the Revenge. My pick. Well, I mean, yeah. I guess based on this whole conversation, obviously, I was gonna say, is it Jaws, or are we also putting forth a pick? But I guess if I'm gonna put forth a pick as well, my pick was gonna be Johnny Dangerously, which is a pre-Beetlejuice era Michael Keaton movie where he's like a wise guy gangster. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. It's been a long time. I remember.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it in the last 20 years, but I don't remember it so much. So it would be an interesting watch.
Yeah.
well, what do you guys think? Should we just watch Jaws, and do you guys want to do a vote?
What do you think, Sean? I don't know.
I'll watch 2 movies because it's a month in between these things. I don't mind watching 2 movies, but I'm watching Jaws, and Kris is watching Jaws, and that's the end of that. If you want to tack on other homework, that's fine by me. But by God, he's got to watch Jaws.
My vote is to do Jaws. It's such a piece of movie history. I feel like just doing a play-by-play as opposed to having a full conversation about it seems silly.
It's fine by me. I can talk about Jaws again. It's one of the 2 best, in my opinion, the 2 best movies ever made are Jaws and Shawshank Redemption. Not my favorites, best ever made.
Should we do Jaws as an episode, but Sean and I'll do a play-by-play of Jason X?
Oh yeah. But Kris will read the play-by-play, just Geely style.
Yeah.
All right.
See, then
I'm totally into that.
Then you're not saddled with extra homework, Kris.
Okay, all right.
All right.
If anything, I will try to watch the second Jaws movie too, if I can fit more than one movie in. But, yeah.
Let's
Jaws
be clear.
it is.
It's a pretty steep decline after the first one.
So correct me.
That's what I've heard.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Sean. But I mean, we won't talk about who lives and who dies in the movie. But the Roy Scheider was the only one that came back and did the second movie. So then like that movie was kind of about him, and then I feel like he stopped after that, but then like somehow the sharks were always tied to his family, it's like they moved down to Florida and it's like, oh, there's sharks, his wife has got to fight sharks, and right, like wasn't that kind of the bit with those things?
I think you described the bit for number 3. Look, I think I only saw 2 and 3 like maybe once or twice each a long time ago. And then number 4, if I'm not mistaken, was the 3D one. But I think Roy Schneider was in the 3D one too. I think you're right. He wasn't in 3, and for some reason the sharks were chasing his daughter, wife, aunt, whatever.
Dennis Quaid was in the third one.
I really don't remember the third one at all. But then the fourth one, who did it have? Like Louis Gossett Jr. and I think Roy Schneider, and they were fighting the shark in 3D, and you got to wear glasses when you watched it. So who cares?
All right, I will also try to watch more than one of them.
All right, I'll give it a go. Try to talk Jacqueline into doing a whole day of Jaws movies. I don't know how many there's. I know there was at least 4.
There's just 4 as far as I know.
And stop then.
Although, according to Wikipedia, there were 4 of them. And in July 2018, Steven Spielberg expressed interest in a Jaws prequel film focusing on the 1945 sinking of the USS Indianapolis, featuring a younger version of Robert Shaw's Quint in a supporting capacity. In May 2020, Shaw's grandson, Farida Shaw, expressed interest in potentially portraying the young Quint in the future, should the film ever be produced. But that was the last of it.
Oh my God. I would love to watch a prequel just about Quint. That would be amazing.
I would watch that. And I think in Jaws 2 or 3 or 4, wasn't one of them like the mom of Jaws? One of them was the mom of Jaws. Like, Like they kill Jaws, and Jaws' mom comes to town, and she's pissed that they killed her baby.
That is amazing.
Like that, I'm pretty sure I nailed it. That's the plot of either 2 or 3 or 4. Oh, it's 2 or 3 because I think 4. Don't they like Jurassic Park the shark? I think they like bring Jaws back from the dead and give him like super genetic shark parts because they thought it was a good idea for their underwater sea lab.
You're making these movies sound amazing.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's all accurate.
I'm looking on IMDb. I have seen part 4, which is called Jaws the Revenge. That one it's you know, Roy Scheider, Chief Brody's wife is the main character, and I think it's like they've tried to escape, you know, they've tried to leave and set up somewhere else to forget about the shark, and the shark finds them there. I definitely watched the movie at my grandparents' house when I was a kid. Like my grandparents were, you know, watching TV late, and they were like, "Oh, he can watch it with us," and then they were like, "Oh, this was a mistake."
I'm an
This is
a-hole because
fascinating.
obviously Jaws 3 was the 3D one that I'm talking about because Jaws 3D. And
Yeah,
then
Jaws 3D,
4.
but apparently Jaws 4 retconned it.
Mm.
According to Wikipedia, the 4th film, Jaws the Revenge, sees the storyline returning to Amity Island, but ignores all plot elements introduced in Jaws 3D.
They couldn't keep it together for 4 movies. Come on, guys. I don't know.
Fascinating.
Yeah,
Alright.
so it looks like Jaws 3D is the odd one out. That's probably the awful, the most awful, I would bet.
Well, I will watch as many Jaws movies as I can. I will watch at least the first one and see if there's any way for me to find time to watch at least another one. But that's what we'll do.
Fair enough.
All
Me and
right,
Paul are gonna
cool.
watch Jaws and Jason, and maybe some more
Yeah.
Jaws. All right.
I'm excited about this. I love this. I love this plan.
Don't have to twist my arm to watch movies.
Oh boy. All right, so I'm finally going to see Jaws. Good for me. Good for America. All right. That's it. That's your homework, everybody. Watch Jaws, and then we will talk about it next time. And leave us your thoughts and feelings on Jaws, so that we can hear about them all 6 listeners that we have.
And when
6
Chris
could be 5 by now. Who
when
knows?
Chris hates Jaws, we kick him off the podcast, right? Like, it's just, we vote him off the island.
Welcome to A Theater Near You, starring Sean and Paul.
I'm here to record it. I'm not allowed to talk. Oh boy. All right, A Theater Near You is a part of the Geekade Podcast Network, and if you'd like to get in touch with us to share your comments, movie suggestions, or whatever, you can send us an email at mail@geekade.com. We can also be found on most social media outlets and the official Geekade Discord server, as well as can be found on our, all that information can be found in our show notes. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time in A Theater Near You.